So I think I am the odd man out. I represent the industry side, the entrepreneurial side. I wanted to sort of see a quick round of hands in some how many non-academics are here. The ones on the promoters, entrepreneurs, investors. Oh, fantastic. So it's about 40%. So I'm going to sort of, so the vantage point I have is very narrow, unlike what I've heard in the morning. I'm going to basically talk my experience in terms of going through an incubation, doing a startup, sort of understanding the pains and the tribulations and all of them. And I want to share that experience with you. If there is a learning out of it, I am happy. Otherwise, don't blame me. So let me quickly go, very briefly about Cygni Energy. We do solar DC microgrids. Okay, I'll talk about it slightly later. We are about 3 years old. It was set up in IIT Madras as part of an IIT Madras incubation cell. In 3 years, we started out with the technology. Now we have covered about 20,000 homes all over India, electrifying these off-grid homes. And what we believed is, there is a paradigm shift in terms of, how we sort of generate energy and consume energy. Of course, Anudeep gave me my introduction. I'm not going to go through that. This whole solar DC is a vision of Professor Ashok Jhunjhunwala at IIT Madras. Many of you may know him. Professor Ashok Jhunjhunwala and Professor Bhaskar Ramamurthy basically started this as an idea. I'm going to talk about that. And then it sort of evolved into a product, into a company, into something which, people say it's, fairly successful what we are doing so far. Okay, so this is a story here. How many of you have been to Pulicat Lake, very close to Sri City, very close to Chennai? Oh, I see a lot of hands going up. So Pulicat Lake is one of the Asia's largest lake. And, people go there. There is an island right in the middle. It's called an Irikkam Island. Okay, so you basically take a boat to go from, this thing into the middle of this lake. And people go there, for what? For watching the rocket launch that happens in Sriharikota. It's absolute vantage point from where you will see a beautiful rocket launch. I had also gone there about 5-6 years back with my family. I said that, hey, let's go and watch this rocket because truly the rocket scientists are there at Sriharikota. We had a fantastic time in the evening. It was great to, sort of see this rocket launch. Then you realize this lake where the island where we were there, the Irikkam Island, does not have power. Okay? And it was such a stark contrast because on one hand, the rocket scientists are there. On the other hand, which is less than 10 kilometers away, the children do not have a power. So which means that come 5:36, their life comes to a standstill. That was a why moment for me, in the sense that, hey, and I knew that there are 1.2 billion people who suffer the same fate, and is there something that we can do about it, okay? So the message is, for every entrepreneur, I think, it's just not making a successful company or making your top line or bottom line. Do you have a purpose in what you're trying to do? And maybe, I have been lucky that, this was something that stuck me at that time, saying that if there is something that we should solve this problem. It's slightly fast forward. We also worked with IIT Madras and Professor Jhunjhunwala for quite some time in terms of setting up a rooftop plant. About 2013, we did a 100 kilowatt rooftop plant at the ESB building of IIT Madras. When we set up this rooftop plant, we set it up in a traditional way. We had this rooftop plant, we had an inverter, we had a battery because we wanted to sort of run this in the evening. And it was basically the power was giving it to the classrooms, to the faculty, their cabins and so on. The question that was asked was, hey, listen, your solar panel, which is basically producing in direct current for some of electrical engineers out here, you produce the power in direct current and then you do so many conversions. So just to give you, I'm not going to get into a lot of technicalities, but a solar panel with the storage generates and stores and retrieves in direct current. But we have been sort of used to an alternating current all around us. There is a very famous war of currents which is more than 100 years old between Dr. Edison and Dr. Nikola Tesla. So the question that Professor Jhunjhunwala was asking was, hey, are we doing the right thing? You are generating a power for me, And my room consists of, LED lights, my laptops, my mobile phones, and my televisions, and so on. And all of these devices today consume only indirect current, okay? What are you trying to do in terms of, doing this multiple conversion? Is this the right thing to do? I think that's pretty much the, the start of Cygni as a company, okay? If you look at it today, the traditional rooftop solar plant, you have an inverter for those of you who may know, and you also have something called as the battery charger to sort of store the power into the battery, and also have an inverter if you want to take the power. All of them are nothing but, AC, DC, DC, AC conversions. Then we said that, listen, we are going to avoid that. We are going to basically relook at the way that we are going to generate our rooftop power and how we are going to consume it. We spent the next 18 to 24 months building this technology. This technology is, deceptively simple, as we call it, because you don't have any conversion. So where is the technology? The technology is how do you do it so that it is the most efficient, highly affordable technology. So we spent the next 18 to 24 months building that. So if you look at the small graph on the right-hand side, what happens if you have a traditional rooftop plant, you are going to reduce on your electricity bill. But if you have a solar DC, you are still going to reduce even further, which means that your effective saving is going to be as high as 75%. And that's our USP. Okay, so this is what we have been sort of doing. Now I'm going to talk about our whole relationship between, between Cygni as a company to IIT Madras as an this thing. Very quickly, I'll just go there. So I think, fundamentally what I believed was IIT Madras incubation cell, which is part of the research park. I heard a lot of speakers talking about it. That was a game changer. Okay, so game changer because multiple reasons. One, you have more than you go into the research park, it's buzzing with activity. There are academicians, there are practitioners, there are consultants, there are industry experts, and so on. And it also helps startup entrepreneurs where you do not want to be bothered with financing side of things. You do not want to be bothered about accounting or how do you set up a ERP software. There is some fundamental base that was set up, and then all the entrepreneurs go there with their ideas and then start work with them. And of course, it's also very strong industry academia. I think one of the key thing in Research Park was if you do not work day in and day out with the, with the professor, with the academia, you do not have, a place there. Okay, so which means that you get kicked out when it is getting reviewed on a, 6 monthly or a yearly basis. And of course, Research Park and IIT Madras are two different entities, but it connects you to the entire IIT Madras ecosystem as well. I think there are multiple success stories. We have all heard about the electric vehicle company Ather, where the Hero Motors have invested. Unifor, which is into artificial intelligence speech recognition. Stellabs, which is an agri-tech company which raised their Series B, and Skillberry, which is into training. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about what are all the things that did not work well. Okay. What I believe is that if there is an incubator or if there is an academic institute which is just looking at a technology transfer or just transfer of patent rights, I have not seen that working very well unless it is a pure science kind of thing where you transfer it one time and you are done. Here it requires constant interaction with academia, which means that it's just not one idea that somebody throws over on the other side, you take it up and run. No, it does have lot of to and fro. And number two, if somebody goes there just for providing an incubation space, I think you have much cheaper, much better space available elsewhere. You go there with a purpose in terms of how do you work with this academia. Of course, the other one is I have seen a lot of folks talking about I have 100 companies, 200 companies, and so on. I think fundamentally what it means is the quality of these, the companies which come out. Maybe we should have a metric in terms of how do you measure the quality. Dr. Mani talked about it in the morning. And then if there is a one-time or a limited engagement, it does not work. This is something where there has to be a constant sort of engagement that needs to happen. Having said all of them, the other thing that I also realized was that between industry and academia, it is always a push-pull relationship. Okay, you cannot basically go there and then become part of the academia because then you become a research institute. If you are too far away, then you basically miss out on the technology piece. And I've also seen, academia, when you sort of look at it, you give them a problem, they want to get it 100% right, okay? Whereas for me, time is essence. Okay, so there is a sort of compromise you do. And number two is, for them, if it is working in some small breadboard prototype, I think, the professor from IIT Hyderabad was talking about the various levels 1 to 16 and so on. You have a breadboard, it's considered as done. Okay, we in industry know that prototype doesn't get you anywhere at all. Which means that point onwards is where it starts for us. And of course, if you ask about costing of any of the work, the typical answer is, hey, listen, we are academicians, I know how to do it, don't, ask us about the costing. But industry does not run. For us, I think, the right price point and right market validation is absolutely critical. What I believe is that there is always a push-pull relationship. I think if you sort of maintain that right balance, I have seen that it works out very well, actually. So this is, the limited from my vantage point, as I sort of said. And the other thing I also wanted to say was, for example, I do on solar, okay? So now the I think you sort of tend to realize that, okay, solar means you need a bunch of electrical engineers. That's not true. So if you look at it, solar you need, data science analyst. Solar you need, on the mechanical side of things. Solar you need, somebody on the, you pretty much, go the length and breadth in terms of, your collaborative effort. And which means that connect into just not into the incubation cell or into the research, but into the entire department space. How do you sort of build your faster prototype? How do you sort of take it to the market quicker? All of them that helps, in this, if you're sort of able to handle this value chain. Given all of them, what's our interest? So when we did it, we did it for, the solar DC, what we have. Of course, it works across for rural electrification. It also works well for all the educational institutes. Because if you look at the load mostly, you have essentially the lights, fans, and computers, and laptops, desktops, and servers, which all of them run on DC today. And we leveraged this ecosystem as well. So what we did was we went and then sort of presented it. The same what we did at IIT Madras, we presented it to pretty much, if you look at all the institutes, we have IIT Bombay, we have, Kongu Engineering College, we have this MSET, which is an engineering college in Tamil Nadu, we have Mahendra's, BITS Pilani. The advantage is that you can actually leverage the ecosystem once you have that, and that's also very critical because, when you are doing the, sort of a work, you not only sort of want to do it where you want to make an impact, but also see how, the parallel areas where this can be done. So this is pretty much, I think, sort of my thoughts in terms of, what would make it work. And of course, I don't think there is a cookie cutter solution. I have been asked to present about from my Cygni's viewpoint, which is what I had done. Thank you so much.